conjunction with International Walk to School Day and National Disability Awareness Month, Denver's Living Streets initiative hosted Travel Like Me. The idea was to bring together some of Denver's major decision makers with graduate students in urban and regional planning to experience firsthand the unique mobility challenges faced every day by people with disabilities and other issues. Denver residents with physical disabilities or other mobility challenges were paired with Denver Mayor John Hickenlooper, other prominent Denver leaders, and graduate students from the University of Colorado Denver. They were asked to show the public how well they manage daily transportation activities. Meet David Kennedy, the Convention Host Committee's disability rights advocate for the Democratic National Convention held in Denver in August 2008. Diagnosed with polio at age 16, David is not your average pedestrian.
We're kicking off the Disability Awareness Month, so Mayor Hickenlooper very nicely asked to be buddied up to go through town. And as he said, you're not really aware when you're walking through the cement that is heaved or the broken concrete and issues like that. So he was able to travel at the speed and go through the issues that disabled people deal with on a daily basis within Denver.
I had never really noticed, and you don't notice, in your busy day-to-day life, how bumpy and uneven the road surfaces and a lot of the sidewalks, especially when we were on 15th. There were a number of places where the concrete had been chipped away, and there's city codes against that, right? I've never given them a lot of thought, but you can see why they are there. Just because every time, especially when they're close to the curb where a street crossing is, and a wheelchair has to stop, and if you get caught in one of those places where the concrete is one way in a rut.
Make this different than that. You can't make a distinction.
According to the National Center for Health Statistics, 15.7 million adults in the U.S. are unable to walk a quarter of a mile.
There was a truck that was doing its work by picking up or dropping off something at a building, and it was blocking the sidewalk. For an able-bodied person, they just walk around the front of the truck and continue on their way. Because of being in a wheelchair, the actual ramp was too steep to just go around the truck, so it required backtracking and going around.
The beneficial thing, I think, more than anything, is to have the opportunity to talk with the city official about what it's like for me. And we talked about some of the issues that we've been grappling with in the commission. And, we talked about audible signals, for example. And I think that was very, very beneficial, just having that exchange and helping somebody sort of understand, where I'm coming from. When I came here in 2000, I knew no one, and I was scared to death. And the whole process, I found Denver to be so welcoming and so helpful, and disability friendly in terms of, as I keep telling people, and they're surprised to learn that Denver and Berkeley, California are the only cities in the nation that are 100% accessible to public transportation. They're thinking in terms of our needs, and I find that just so refreshing in comparison to what I've been used to. it doesn't quite feel like survival of the fittest around here.
According to the National Center for Health Statistics, more than 20 million Americans report experiencing significant vision loss. 4.3 million of those live in the West.
You know, just experiencing the challenges that he would experience, that it's hard to tell on big open areas whether you're going the right direction or not. There's not a route or a path that you can follow. Some of the wide sidewalks downtown, it's easy to sort of meander back and forth and run into trees and that kind of thing. It's hard to know where the entrance to a bus is, or which restroom is which inside the coffee shop. And unless you do the same thing over and over and over every day, I can see where it would be perilous, including some actual dangers, certainly, to travel out there by yourself. I noticed a lot of things I hadn't noticed before. Being with somebody who is blind let me see through their eyes, so to speak.
In the U.S., the livability movement is nothing short of a sea change in government transportation policies that have been singularly focused on motor vehicles for decades.
My name is Dan Roberts, and I'm the Director of Development Services in Denver, and it's been my pleasure to spend this morning with John Dickinson. John has given me a great insight into a little bit of what it's like to be deaf. So we started the day off by going to get a cup of coffee. And ordering was very easy, but getting the right drink at the end was a little bit more of a challenge.
But that's one of the biggest challenges for deaf people, to be able to make a phone call. Sometimes deaf people just avoid it. They'll use their pager instead, or they'll wait until they get home. And it's not fair.
Designing the built environment for people with disabilities actually benefits everyone. Ensuring wheelchair access with ramps and curb cuts also helps able-bodied parents crossing the street with strollers. Auditory pedestrian signals also help those who are forgetful or just distracted.
I was pleasantly surprised, actually, with just how mobile we were through the streets of the city. We had very, and I would call them, had very slight inconveniences, like at the door of the coffee shop, just because there was a step up and the door to open was really close to the step, so you had to do, two things at one time. But from my point of view, the streets, although there were some rough patches, were very accessible to the little one in her stroller, to Lucy in her stroller, and was really pleasantly surprised with bus and transit and how easy and accommodating they were.
I agree.
Of us there. The biggest challenge I had on bumpy roads was just in a couple patches where there was no sidewalk when you were crossing a grade level train crossing, and that was at most 5 or 10 feet of a little bit of gravel and a little bit of bumpy, but otherwise it was pretty good.
The big thing that we didn't have to attempt today was feeding. Having more benches would be great.
Any place to sit down at all.
A place to sit down.
We were on a lot of streets that were very pedestrian friendly, as long as you didn't have to stop for anything.
Right.
We need to have more people with disabilities out on the streets, so that the non-disabled population is comfortable with us. because there's still a lot of people with disabilities don't know how friendly the city is, even people who live here. So they hesitate to go out, and yet I get out there because I know it's doable.
So did downtown Denver pass the test? In a lot of ways, yes. But there's still work to be done throughout the city, for both residents and visitors alike.